Hey everyone, I want to give you guys my initial impressions on this Sig Romeo 7. Okay, so I have it mounted on this Sig MCX. Um, so first thing I'm going to say about this Sig Romeo 7 is that it's big. I mean, this thing is like 5 inches long. Okay, so it's big. It's dot only. Okay, it takes a AA battery that fits into this compartment over here. It does have a quick release on this side. Okay, uh, it comes with the mount. It sits a little bit lower than I like because usually the magnifiers I have them set so that they're about 2 3/4 inches over the bore. I had to remove one of the spacers from here because I think this sits at about like 2.5 over the bore, which with iron sights is going to give you an absolute co-witness instead of like a lower 1/3. Okay, so my like without knowing the price of this thing, right? I had no idea. Because like I said, a friend of mine, he left the rifle with here. He left the optic, asked me to mount it for him and zero it in. And I was very happy to do it because it gave me a chance to try out the optic and share that information with you guys, right? And I've already done a bunch of videos on this Sig MCX. So as I'm working with it, my first thought is like, I hope this guy didn't pay too much for this, right? Because he does like pricey stuff. Like he's got this Sig MCX here. Price on this is, I don't know, somewhere between $1,500 and $2,000. So he left another rifle here. He's got EOTechs on him, all that stuff. So like, I did not know what the price of this Sig Romeo 7 was. It turns out, like I just looked it up at Optics Planet. It is $160. So for $160, it's like, yeah, not bad. Okay, that's a whole other story, right? As long as it's not like some $300, $400, $500 optic, that would be absurd. But at $160, you got yourself a very basic red dot here that you can, put on rifles, test them out. It's got a quick attach there, so you can take them on and off, move them around pretty easy. So, and I got a few red dots that I just use them to, and do like an initial test on rifles. So, like I said, it's red dot only. Let me give you guys a peek behind this thing. Let's get back here. There we go. All right, so you can see red dot only. So with the red dot only, you don't have that circle dot, the 65 or 68 MOA circle. So you do lose your ranging capability because the way it works is at 200 yards, right? If you have the circle dot, the man's feet are going to be at the bottom of the circle. His head is going to come up to the dot. Okay, at 300 yards, he's going to come up about 3/4 of the way. At 400 yards, he's going to come up half the way, and at 500 yards, he's going to be equal to the little hash. Okay, and then based on that, you now know where to hold your dot, right? So from 0 to 250 yards, basically you put the dot, you'll either be like 3 inches low or 3 inches high. At 300 yards, you put the dot on his face and that'll drop him into his chest. 400 yards, you put the dot on top of his head and that will drop them into his chest. It'll drop the bullets into his chest. And at 500 yards, you take the distance from belt to head, and that is your holdover. Okay, so I look for every opportunity that I get to spread that information because that's what I do on this channel. Okay, so you lose that ranging capability, but that's fine. It's only $160 for this. It's big. It does match up pretty good with this Sig MCX because the way I mount my scopes is basically like the bubble level will go in the back, right? Because you got to have a bubble level back here, especially if you're zeroing. I use the Monstrum because if you are canted, that's going to throw off your zero. And if you just look at your fingers here, right? If let's say the top is your line, top is line of sight, bottom is your bore, right? So if you just take your fingers and then you twist them like this, right, or like that, you'll see how you can be like, you can imagine you'll be off 2 inches at 100 yards, okay, and at further distances you'll be further off. So usually I put the bubble level here. If I really have no space, I will put it at the front over here, at least for the purposes of zeroing. But really the first thing I actually put is the magnifier, okay, and then I decide where the bubble level is going to go. The magnifier has to go on first because there's eye relief issues, right? So magnifier goes on first, and then the red dot goes in front of it. So with this scope over here, right, which is 5 inches long, if with the magnifier and red dot, you're really cramped over here on your standard AR-15. Now on the Sig MCX, your upper receiver goes from here all the way up to here, right? You can see that crack right there. Okay, so you have a very long upper receiver. So this red dot matches up pretty good to the Sig MCX because you can afford to push up the red dot. You got the space, because otherwise on the regular AR-15, this would be like really cramped. I didn't actually size it up, but you may have the front of the optic sitting on your front rail. And what I'll usually do with that is I'll loosen up the rail, right, and then I'll put the red dot, tighten it up. That will set the rail in its position, and then I'll tighten up the rail. Okay, so that's how I deal with that when the red dot ends up straddling onto the handguard, basically. So yeah, if you do buy this red dot for your AR-15 and you see that you're cramped for space, now you know how to deal with that. Okay, so like I said, for $160, not bad. Okay, you got yourself a Sig over here. It's got quick detach. This is where the adjustment over here is for the brightness settings. Battery compartment over here, it takes a AA battery, which is not a bad thing to have. I actually have an optic that takes a AA battery in an SHTF type situation, right? Even though I have like piles of 2032s, right, the little disc batteries, I like to have at least one or two of these optics laying around that take like just standard AA batteries, because it's a lot easier to find AA batteries than it is to find little disc 2032 batteries. Okay, so this is not a bad thing to have. So now it does have these caps, and they do come out of position pretty easy. Okay, if you're not careful, you will easily rip these. Oh, it came off. Okay, so these will easily come off. Okay, so again, if this was more than $250, I'd kind of be bitching about this, but for $160, my initial impressions are good. I mean, if you need a cheap red dot, with it's got quick detach. It comes with these lens caps too. Do they come off? I didn't even try that. Hold on, let's see if these things will come off. Trying to do this one-handed. It doesn't look like they. No, they don't easily come off. Now it's cold out here. I really don't care about that. It looks like they're built into it. So it does have these cap protectors. Okay. And holy shit, man! I mean, it is a pain in the ass, like trying to unscrew these things, because it is hard to get your fingers in there. But yeah, they got like these the cap protectors are like freaking tank. It's built like a tank. I'll give you guys a look from the front. So there it is. I mean, just a quick initial impressions. $160, not bad. I mean, it's not a bad idea to have one of these things laying around that you can kind of like throw on an AR. Especially if you just need something temporary to go on there until you find the one that you really want. Something ideally with a circle dot. Not a bad thing to have. Okay. So yeah, initial impressions, $160, good. Okay. So drop some comments. Let me know what you guys think. And like I said, I've already done videos on the Sig MCX, this is actually not an AR-15. Even though it looks like an AR, it's not an AR. It's a piston-driven gun, and the recoil spring is actually part of the bolt. It's on top of the bolt carrier over here. So there's no buffer tube over here. There's a side folder. So check my if you search my channel name and Sig MCX, you'll see the videos I did on this Sig MCX. Okay. So drop some comments. Talk to you all soon.